Hi there, Jesse Schul here from jesseschul.com. It's Monday, June the 22nd, and you don't need me to tell you we are living in troubled times. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have social unrest and social injustice. People are out of work. The country's politically divided. And the media only makes it worse. They're like pouring gasoline on the fire. One example is Stephen A. Smith. This weekend, I was flipping through ESPN. I saw Stephen A. giving a rant about systemic racism in the NBA. And in particular, he referenced the fact that there were 14 black head coaches in 2012, and now only 7 black head coaches in the NBA, which he considers to be proof of systemic racism in the NBA. Stephen A. was critical of celebrities and athletes that are joining the Black Lives Matter protests, saying that he's been talking about this for years, sort of suggesting that what people should be focusing on is the number of black head coaches in the National Basketball Association. Really, Stephen A.? Really? So I found this to be quite disturbing. I lost sleep over it over the weekend, and I decided to dig a little deeper, go through the statistics, the facts, and the history, and see what I could come up with. And what I came up with was, we saw a high of 14 black NBA head coaches back in 2012, and that was whittled down to a number of 7 by 2015. So the number of NBA head coaches that are African American has roughly been the same for the last 5 years. The period between 2012 and 2015 saw 14 African American head coaches fired, and I will list them for you here. Starting with Brian Shaw, fired by Denver on March 3rd, 2015. The Nuggets were 20 and 39 at the time. Jacques Vaughn, fired by Orlando, February 5th, 2015. Orlando was 10 and 20 at the time. Larry Drew, fired by Milwaukee, June 30th, 2014. The Bucks were 15 and 67. Mike Brown, fired by Cleveland, May 12th, 2014. Cleveland was 33 and 49. Mark Jackson, fired by Golden State. The Warriors were 51 and 31 on May 6, 2014. Tyrone Corbin, fired by Utah, April 25th, 2014. The Jazz were 25 and 57. Mike Woodson, fired by the Knicks, April 21st, 2014. The Knicks were 37 and 45. Mo Cheeks was fired by the Pistons, February 9th, 2014. The Pistons were 21 and 29. Lionel Hollins was fired by Memphis, June 10th, 2013. The Grizzlies were 56 and 26. Keith Smart was fired by Sacramento, May 31st, 2013. The Kings were 28 and 54. Alvin Gentry, fired by Phoenix, July 1st, 2013. The Suns were 25 and 57. Avery Johnson, fired by Brooklyn, December 27th, 2012. The Nets were 14 and 14. Paul Silas, fired by Charlotte, April 30th, 2012. The Hornets, or the Bobcats at the time, were 7 and 59. Nate McMillan, fired by Portland, March 15th, 2012. Portland was 20 and 23 at the time. So what we have here is we have a list of 14 head coaches. 12 of those coaches had terrible records. Teams weren't going to make the playoffs. So the firing was justified. You know, it wouldn't have mattered if they were white or black. If you're not winning in this league, you're not going to keep your job. We've seen that over and over again. There's 2 coaches that really stand out, though. Mark Jackson of Golden State, with a record of 51 and 31. You would have liked to have seen Jackson had more time with the Warriors. However, I know Golden State thought that he underachieved with the roster they had. And you look back, they hired Steve Kerr, won multiple championships, built a dynasty. It's pretty tough to argue with those results. In the case of Lionel Hollins, the other coach that had a winning record on that list, I'm not sure why the Grizzlies let him go, but he was immediately hired to another head coaching position the following season. I have to assume that Hollins had some personality problems with people in the organization or something of that nature. Certainly he wasn't fired because of a lack of coaching ability. So that brings me to where we are now. We have 7 African American head coaches, and Stephen A. Smith is suggesting that this is what people should be concerned about. This is representative of the social injustice in our country, and I can't disagree more. I mean, what is the magic number for how many black head coaches we should have in the NBA? I personally don't think there's a magic number. I don't think there's too many. I don't think there's not enough. I believe that sports is a meritocracy. I think the most capable people will get the jobs. There's luck involved, a little bit of who you know. But where we are right now, you look at some of the recent hires. Kerr in Golden State has done quite well. Brad Stevens for Boston has done quite well. And all of a sudden Nick Nurse in Toronto comes out of nowhere, wins a championship, and it's a copycat league. So teams are going to do what they're seeing other teams have success doing. And if that means hiring younger white coaches for now, that's what it means. I mean, Greg Popovich has been a legend, best coach in the history of the NBA as far as I'm concerned, but he's getting old. He's about to retire. If you see Tim Duncan come in and take over for Pop and the Spurs become a dynasty again, that's probably going to start to show an increase of more African American head coaches. On the flip side, if you see Becky Hammon take over and she's successful, you could see more women come into coaching. I don't think we should be focused on having more black head coaches. I just don't think it's necessary. I was looking at an article in Bleacher Report from 2015. They discussed the decline over a 3-year period between 2012 and 2015, and they interviewed dozens of coaches, assistants, GMs, asking what they thought, and they couldn't find one person that would go on record and say that racism was a problem. One of the quotes was from Dwayne Casey, who at the time was with the Raptors, and his comment was, "If anything, I trust the league is fair, so I trust that this is probably just going to be a blip on the radar, and you'll see that number go back up again, hopefully in the next couple of years." Like I said, it's a copycat league. It hasn't happened between now and then, but it could moving forward. It could get quote unquote worse as well. Another thing to consider is how many African American players want to become coaches. Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum said that it's a mistake to assume that NBA players want to be coaches at all. He said, "We have several players in our league who aspire to be owners, not head coaches." And you can see that Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, Grant Hill, and Michael Jordan are all owners in the NBA. Of course, Jordan's the only majority owner, but the rest have partial ownership in various franchises. I also think when you look at the fact that the league is 75% African American, that's based on the fact that the league is a meritocracy. Black players happen to be the more talented players, by and large. But does that translate into black players being the more talented coaches? When you think of the fact that less than half of the coaches have even played in the NBA, that may not necessarily be the case. So that's just another thing to consider. But I will say that I was disgusted with Stephen A. Smith's take on this issue. I think that he should do better. I think he should really look at what's going on before he makes dangerous and divisive comments like that. And I don't really have faith that he will, because that probably sells ratings. But anyways, just something to think about. I'm going to call it a night, so good luck, and we'll see you soon.